we on the Éarte?
Oh,
Yes.
we are.
Oh, you're quite right. We are, because that's the name of the show. Welcome. I'm Sam Philip, and this is our Children of Éarte after show, where we celebrate the holidays by recounting this year of adventure, significant bathing experiences, and honestly, quite a lot of snow now that I think about it.
A lot of snow.
And today I get the first gift because I'm joined by the whole cast. Hello, all of you. Why don't we unwrap the present that is your collective presence by introducing ourselves, starting with Alicia.
With me. Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia Marie. You can find me on socials at Alicia Marie Body. Today, I am rocking a green sweater and a red pin because it's Christmas. Anyway, tonight I will not be playing Fairuza. I will try hard not to play myself during this stream. I'm very excited. I'm excited to be here with these lovely people, but I'm sad that it's our final stream of the year. But also Merry Christmas and all that.
And to you, Hope.
Oh, hello. I'm Hope LaVelle. Follow me on the things as the Hope LaVelle. That's good.
You know what? Just
And so is your hat. It's
Ah,
so
thank
pretty. I love it so much. Lauren.
Oh, hi, I'm Lauren Urban. I'm the content manager at Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. You can go to my website, lauren-urban.com. But that's it. But I did find my Hanukkah mug, so I'm happy.
Yay!
Yay!
Happy Hanukkah!
yay.
Thank you.
The sun already went down like 2 hours ago, so we already did the whole menorah lighting and everything because it's winter in Seattle and it's just dark all the time.
That's right. I forgot.
You're just sharing the winterly experience that all of your characters have been enjoying in Tyver.
Yeah.
Ain't that right, Jen?
4 hours of daylight. That's all you get.
Yep.
It's like Sweden.
Yep.
We're just basically doing Sweden.
Yeah.
Yes, hello. I am Jen Kretchmer. You can find me on the socials as at Dreamlisp and streaming as Dreamlisp Jen. Yeah, I don't have to say who I am tonight other than that. It's a treat.
And I thought that was just you.
Oh.
Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Bradford. I am the CDO at Demiplane. We've had a really big year, and it is not quite over for us. So we are crunching for another couple of days to get one more thing out before our holiday break. But it's been really, really great. And tonight I am playing a kinder, less cynical, slightly more subdued version of a character that is myself and not Silas Jordan. Or Sorrel. I said Jordan because of the hat, but Silas Sorrel. Sorry for that spoiler if you haven't caught it.
There may, gentle audience, be some spoilers this eve. I should warn you now. But she who holds all the spoilers inside her head, Deborah, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, yes, I'm Deborah Ann Woll. Usually I am the storyteller and host for the evening, but tonight I bequeath that unto Sam. And I will say this, it occurred to me when I was first coming up with the name of this adventure, Children of Éarte, having no idea that there would be an after show talking thing that would punnily work so well. So that really was a happy accident, I have to say.
And thanks eternally to Adam for letting me name the show.
I was about to say, trust Sam of all of the things that they do amazingly well. Puns are
Puns
top
are
of the
up
list.
there.
Yeah,
This is right.
Always count on Sam for a pun.
I will try to deliver, but with the gift of all of y'all's presents, I should also mention the gifts from our sponsors, including Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, because they're giving away 2 codes, and you can type !code in chat for a free Electrum chest in-game, as well as Die Hard Dice, purveyors of clicky-clacky math rocks. Use code Éarte at checkout for 10% discount, and we will be doing a giveaway in chat during stream. And Sirenscape, because epic games require epic music, and holiday games require the same. But with that paltry impression of Adam's spectacular sponsor spiel, on with our show with a reminder that you can ask this lovely cast questions like, what color towels should I get Silas for the holidays? By asking your question with question in all caps in chat. Here, I'll demonstrate the question part, if not the all caps, with a bit of year in review, because I have noticed that players are very shy about sharing their favorite moments of their own characters. But if there's one thing I know about all of you, it is that you are very generous about recognizing your fellow cast members. So, rather than ask you all to recount memories of your own characters, I'd love to hear memories each of you have of another character. No pressure, it doesn't even have to be your favoritist memory or anything, just whatever comes to mind. For instance, at the risk of recency bias, my science-loving heart was a big fan of It's a Lysosome. Didn't you pay attention in biology?
Yeah.
Weeks ago.
It actually wasn't, so I lied. But, you know. Sorry, scientists.
No, that was just Maeve.
It was Maeve getting it wrong.
Yeah. Maeve, that was a character
Right.
choice. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will throw the my favorite things as one of my favorite moments, because I knew both Lauren and Neb had ways into that, and that made me very happy. So yeah, getting to see that happen was delightful.
While we're in that world, I have to say, Robin with the cursed amulet and the mama dolls,
Oh yeah.
and the fact that all of that then ended in a bag of dolls.
That's my favorite.
For a game master to be like, wow, this thing, and I love those dolls. I think the creation of those were something really fun for me to make, and the idea that like they're still in game, you guys. Like Robin can pull them out anytime she wants. So I don't know. I hope I thought handled that curveball that I threw her so elegantly and fullingly, and I can't wait to see what more she makes of it. So,
Deborah, as the arbiter of this world, I'm sure you could answer for us. Are the nutcrackers in Robin's bag performing the nutcracker right now? Only you can say, and your answers are canon. Please tell us.
So they're not ballet nutcrackers don't move, right? Like their legs can't move. They just all they do is So I'm only willing to go so far as to say that they are chomping out the beat to the Sugar Plum Fairies. They're or the little drummer boy or something like that. They're just, if you
They're
open
just chomping at the
Robin's
beat.
bag, you just hear chomp chomp chomp.
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna go back a little bit more in time, back to when we were underwater and watching Maeve specifically, but a couple people interact with that creature, but that moment towards the end, as we were all finally getting back together, and Maeve is just bullshitting her way into doing some awesome things. Like, I don't know. It was just amazing, that whole conversation, and I was in awe, and Neb was lost, and it was amazing.
I'm gonna say the double nat 20s from Fairuza.
Oh
yes!
That battle.
That killed the stream.
I literally
peaked.
broke the internet.
I peaked. I'll never hear that again.
You don't have to. It was perfect exactly when it was needed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What was mine? I was also gonna say Robin's backpack has been a lot of fun for me this season, because I think it's funny that they literally don't question this at all. They just say, okay, this is Robin. She has a giant backpack and it's full of paper dolls. That's just it. We're just carrying with us everywhere. We don't question it at all, ever.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. But I also love, there was just something funny about the recent moment of Silas carrying Fairuza, carrying Neb,
Yes.
who's carrying her wolf, like that. Like for me, like, you know, with the theater of the mind visually, they just made me laugh because it just made no sense. So that was when I feel like mental moments just came to my mind right now. But there's just a lot more. There's a lot more, but that one was pretty funny to me.
I think for me, most of the things that stand out the most in the memory are the things that, because for me, there are just countless, fun things that bring a smile to the face. But the things that stand out the most to me are the moments where, because I don't do very well with horror and those kind of things.
Oh,
and
no.
So I mean, we've talked about this, and like, but Deborah doesn't just throw that at me, completely unwittingly. But it really is like there are a few moments that really do like give me chills when Deborah often, but others in response to certain things that happen because it's just described so well. And I guess one of the recent ones is when we're investigating, and Silas was perfectly reasonable to try to cut into whatever this membrane was. Like obviously that's what you do because you need to figure out what's under it. And just everything that happened from there, and the tentacles and the way it was described, and I saw every bit of it, and it was like I think that is the thing for me. One of the reasons that I do enjoy, like often I don't play with maps and things even when I run games, because for me it is just it always is that picture in my head. And there have been so many moments over the course of this last year. Underwater is kind of scary just in general anyway, and so being in that submarine and or submersible or whatever it was that was bringing us down to the thing, like all of that was just utterly terrifying to me as a player, but in a good way, like in a good way, like it kind of shakes me out of some of the complacency that I have about that genre. So I've really been enjoying it, but it's also in those moments that I kind of feel the most alive, and they stand out the most in my memory.
I want to throw one in again.
Yeah.
The entire Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, the to be determined we need more of, because it was amazing. Absolutely.
Just
I have
Absolutely.
in my downtime been powering them all up. So
yay! Oh, yay!
they are getting stronger as we speak, as they hibernate.
There's like a montage of running up the Philadelphia Art Museum steps. And,
There we go.
They're currently rockying.
It was such a joy. That episode was it was so much fun, and everyone was so on that night, and just like it just everything, like there are some nights that it's always fun to play and everyone always clicks in, but there were just some nights that everyone is just having, like, it's happening, and that night every single person was there to play, and the setting was so great. And every time we saw a new monster, I felt like I was a kid at Disneyland seeing, my favorite characters for the first time. I was geeking out so hard.
And Robin being the vacuum
The
salesman.
vacuum salesperson. And using the vacuum as all the things, and then Fairuza doing that at the end of it. I want one of those vacuums. Like every piece of it.
I appreciate the amount of male nudity in that particular one. It felt like an equal opportunity kind of episode.
Yes.
It was all tasteful. It was all tasteful.
You're fixing the balance, one session at a time.
Need to get the balance back on that. Yeah, I was really, and I think it delighted me a little because it was unexpected. Because I had no plan for that. I certainly did not expect. I don't know why I keep forgetting that Robin has the invisibility. I shouldn't keep forgetting getting that.
You're like, you see him, but he has no clothes
then-
on.
I was not
Deborah, let's be
expecting
real.
you.
Let's see your notes. Actually, like, I don't know if I'm believing you.
Male nudity must occur. and then I was not expecting the werewolf to get killed. So like I really that was a out of left field little turn twist of the screw there. So that was exciting for me.
It was such a good session with the most complete comprehension of the assignment I have ever seen.
Yeah.
All of you.
Well, and
Did
that
you guys channel anyone specifically for did you channel anyone like who? I know for me, just for me, I was trying to do like a Joan Crawford, like
Yeah.
That's what she was. That's what she was. Because we were
was.
told to do.
yeah.
Mine was sort of a mishmash of a bunch of noir characters. Like I was thinking about the Big Sleep, and basically every single leggy broad that walks into a detective's office. But how would Maeve imagine herself in that, and how would she flip it on its head? So all of that like paired up with a bunch of sort of that era of film stars too.
Yeah.
I ended up kind of I know it's not period appropriate, but I was thinking a lot of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Because it was the kind of thing of like, okay, if Neb is going to be thinking about a person, you know, a film star to emulate, and I think that character specifically, that kind of adventurous, snarky, but always able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So it was kind of in that vein, but definitely more towards the era we were all aiming for.
Neb surprised me the most, I admit. I when we met Maeve's sort of Mrs. White Black Widow, I was like, yeah, no, I seeing it, like so many of the characters. I admit, Neb seeing that in the dream, in a dream, in the story, a thing that has happened that y'all dreamt about
Several times.
Yeah. Well, it was like, okay, if this is gonna be a dream version of her, we're gonna go with it being a dream and not a nightmare. What are the things that she not idolizes, but like admires in the kind of adventurous people that she would go out for. So like that kind of the things she can't do, like being snarky and being quick-witted and being that kind of self-confident and actually being able to take care of herself when she walks first into danger, things like that. So little things.
I like that aspiration. Speaking of things that we aren't, I'll have to shout out the land thief, not water thief.
Yes.
Of Silas.
Explained in this stream and will live
I
forever.
think I put some experience points in Water Thief.
You
a little bit.
did.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I mean, I might not be all the way there, but I mean,
We'll add a feat.
Oh my God.
When you level up to 8, we'll add a feat. A water thief feat. I'm a land thief.
If we're still calling out things, I have a couple more things I want to call out that other people do that are awesome. So we'd mentioned this before, but poor Deb has had to learn that I am going to try to talk to everything everywhere all at once. And
turn it in.
the number of plants, animals, creatures, aliens that she has just pulled voices out and personalities out. And what I especially loved was when we got to speak with plants and the fact that it was all like emotions and that there wasn't a verbal thing, that it was more of a feelings thing, I thought was beautiful. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's always a thing. It's I again, like as same as I should always remember that Robin is see invisibility. I should always remember that Neb's gonna talk to things. For some reason I don't. And it catches me by surprise every time. And I have to remember that Silas can fly and like oh right, whoops.
Oops.
Whoops, I guess I'd figure out another way to make this hard.
You manage. We promise.
I manage.
Yeah, I think we all died one episode.
Well, so
it's hard.
so that was something when Adam brought up that most recent episode and Neb bringing up, voices and things like that. I've always said I'm not really very good at accents, but I do like voices and sound effects. And so there's something really fun that I think sometimes I never heard another game master like recommend this or tell, but it's something that's really like caught on for me, that like those tentacles just doing like does so much, right, for telling of that story moment. So yeah. So there's something to like, Sirenscape, obviously, it can help in that regard, but that's just something I've been kind of like, hey, for inspiration for yourself and for your characters, like go listen to sounds and see if you can recreate them, because a sound can go so much further than description sometimes,
Mm.
On that front, I love, Deb, the way that the orbs and like the way that you communicate with things that don't have language, and the way you approach the thought processes of non-sapient
Yeah.
entities. I
Thank
I
you.
love the way you come at that.
Thank you. That was fun.
I also love, and I'm a huge fan of reflavoring spells for your own character. And I know we've gone way down that road a lot, but it still surprises me. So the first time that Robin cast Tiny Hut, and it was a tiny sand castle, I didn't expect it at all, but it was perfect when it happened.
Oh, and I have to throw the D&D episode in as well, or the D&D episode, because
Yes!
that was so
I
much
ha-
fun.
I
Legal
experienced like
legacy.
5% of it, but it was even that 5% was great with my terrible internet.
Well, another thing we're just going to have part 2 of.
Part 2.
Yes,
Mhm.
please.
Gotta see what happens to champion Neb. And I can't remember what was it, Pegasus? Pegasus's name, or
Oh, well, I mean, I could
writing something?
No,
Yeah, I
so
had to look up my notes.
she was based on the Warner Brothers cartoon and What's Opera Doc. She's based on Bugs Bunny when they're pretending to be the Valkyrie riding the horse, which is
Oh
why
my
her horse's name is Elmer,
Ah.
which at the time just added to the hilarity because we were all talking about glue anyway. So yeah, that's why she rides this giant fat white horse, because it's that specific horse.
Perfect. And yeah, if we ever do a part 2 for that, it's going to be just like real life when you get together and play with people that you haven't played with in a while. The person running the game isn't going to remember anything that happened, so we're just going to go with it.
But unlike your home game, we have a reference point.
Oh, I'm not rewatching it. I want it to be authentic.
That's fair. That's fair.
What was it? It was Vixens and Vagabonds? No. Something in Vagabonds. wasn't Dungeons and Dragons.
Vagabonds and Vaults. Yeah.
Vaults.
Vaults and Vagabonds.
Vaults and
Vixens,
Vagabonds. There we go.
Here we are. Yeah. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Someone just brought up land thief thing. That I had a really funny moment in my head. We were biosphere underwater ship. There was some like mugs, like old mugs in this ship, and I think like I don't know if it was Robin that wanted to take one or something, and Silas was like, "I can't take that" or something like that because he's not a sea thief.
Hey, that mug came in handy in a little while later.
You used
Something
it
like
well.
that. I was like, "What?"
My
Right,
Polaris
right.
mug. I need to get one now. You know, order a mug.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
From that era was also the long-running goof of the Silosaurus, which sets up beautifully a quick palate cleanser question from our own Maverick 2, asking what everyone's favorite dinosaur is.
Oh, I'm
Feel
sorry,
free
everybody.
also to give
I get this
characters
all the time,
opinions.
and now everybody
Oh,
else has to
man.
has to answer.
Yeah, I feel like Adam needs to go first here. Like,
Well, I mean, this is the problem. If I go first, I'm going to take the whole stream. Like,
Oh no, hearing about dinosaurs. Oh no.
I tell everyone that it's seasonal for me. I go through different favorites.
So what's the holiday dinosaur then?
Yeah, the holiday dinosaur, the one that I have been, really riding pretty hard this year has been the Ankylosaurus, because, spoiler alert, slight one, for a Marvel thing. So I'm giving you just a second to stop, mute until I stop moving my hands if you don't want to hear what's happening in that. But there is an Ankylosaurus in the Marvel adventure, The Murder World That Time Forgot, that we just released on Disney.
Cool.
So I love the Ankylosaurus, and so that is currently the one. I got the question this morning in the stream. What was, my basically the winner for the year on favorite dinosaur? It's the Ankylosaurus.
For those unfamiliar, that is the big tankosaur with the bludgeoning weapon on the tail.
Oh.
Which is now Neb's favorite dinosaur, because that's the only one that she could picture at least a little bit when Silas was talking about being a dinosaur, having a dinosaur, wanting to be a dinosaur. I mean, Lauren knows we're a while away if we ever get to that point, but that's hers. Mine is the Stegosaurus, not because of anything from it, but I actually ran a game a while ago in where there were dinosaurs on the island that my players were in, and they all had like elemental changes to them, and they came across a whole herd of Stegosaurus that had this electric current running through those spines along the back, and so I was able to talk about like when you see electricity jumping from one point to another, them jumping from spine to spine to spine to spine, and then they would attack things with their tail. And I was very proud because they were just Stegosaurus, like wandering off to go eat grass, and my players just sat and enjoyed watching dinosaurs for a while, like it was Jurassic Park. It was very nice. So they're still out there somewhere alive, thanks to my players.
Let's see. I don't know that much about dinosaurs. My sort of greatest reference.
I still like her, everyone. I just
thank you. I appreciate that. Obviously, I know Jurassic Park and things like that. But if I really think about it, like my first dinosaur interest was Land Before Time. Saddest, most wonderful movie. And probably like a lot of other like really creative, opinionated little girls. Sarah, the Triceratops, like really lives in my heart, and so I'm gonna go with Triceratops because there was a part of me that was like, just be nice to her. No.
To feel oneself represented in media.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. So.
I love that you watched that and your takeaway was be nice to her.
Well, I don't know. I just remember, she was kind of painted as like bossy or something like that. And little girls get painted that way a lot. I don't know. I just sort of remember feeling like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She needs someone to be nice to her.
She is great. And that is seriously, I say completely unironically, one of my favorite movies. And I watch it probably on an annual basis.
I'm going to say Velociraptors, only because the real Velociraptors are like the size of a dog. They were tiny.
Chickens.
You know what I mean? So I think but the funny thing is they were small, but they were considered like major predators for dinosaurs. And I remember I read somewhere that they're like, imagine a wolf and a turkey crossed together. And that's what they were really the terrible bird-like creatures. I just find them interesting, a little dinosaur. And being that I used to have a vacation home, just kidding, with wild turkey that used to run around, we'd see them and they really do look like prehistoric in the face.
Yeah. Also, I love
really pretty animals.
You've basically described a goose, like like the ferociousness of a wolf and a turkey, and I'm like, that's a Canadian goose. Absolutely, that's the animal I'm the most afraid of. That's nearby me. Those are terrifying. Yeah,
they're mean, right? They're kind of territorial or resource guarding type.
They are the vessel of Canada's rage. It is all funneled. So that the rest of them may be polite all the time.
Yeah. Not only are they rage incarnate, not only are they territorial, not only are they bigger than you think, don't look this up if it's going to bother you, but one of these days look up on the internet what the inside of a goose's mouth looks like.
Oh,
So scary. Oh, it's an eldritch horror.
Uh-huh.
It's
Okay,
so
my favorite
disturbing.
dinosaur is a goose. I'm just kidding.
I'm looking it up now.
They're
We're gonna get
fascinating.
goose mouth monsters. We're totally getting goose mouth monsters now.
I know. Stop giving me ideas.
Listen, it's yours. Enjoy. It is horrific.
Yeah, it
So I
really
guess
is.
they're all that.
Wow. It
chews
pops up as a commonly
Commonly searched
thing.
term.
Oh wow.
Right?
Where are these coming from, Lauren? Where are these
Whoa.
geese?
live reacts to geese.
Why do their tongues have teeth?
Why don't their tongues have teeth? They're rage incarnate. That's why.
Sure, I'm glad humans know.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is definitely coming at you.
Why do geese
Y'all
hiss?
can yell at me when it happens. I will take full responsibility. That's fine.
Cool.
And thus we have given our dungeon master a holiday gift.
ouch.
Wow.
That looks,
Yes.
that looks dangerous. I love it.
I once had to battle a Canadian goose for my car. It was sitting on top of my car and it wouldn't let me into my car, and I needed to get to work. And so
It
I
didn't let you
eventually,
in.
yeah, well, it almost did. It took me a good 5 minutes because they're huge and their tongues have teeth.
So scary.
I mean, yeah, it says here if you get bitten by one, it's really painful, so you should definitely avoid it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I like
definitely
that
don't go out trying to get
That
bitten
needs
by
to be
a
written
Canadian
down.
Yeah.
Ew.
We recommend not getting bitten by a goose.
So
Gentle audience, on the Éarte, cannot medically recommend getting bitten by a goose.
Nope. Nope.
There, I've
I
covered
appreciate
Demiplane. We're good.
Only in pretend.
There are a lot of animals in Canada that are way more ferocious than you think because they're cute and you think Canada, they can't be so bad.
Well, we've seen some examples thereof, or more particularly, we've seen Neb turn into them. We've seen Neb moose. Can we expect in the coming year, perhaps, Neb goose?
No goose.
Neb goose, the most terrifying of wild shapes.
Yes.
She's still got.
CR25.
We're just gonna have T-Rex stats, but skin it as a goose.
I don't know. I can figure out like the sparrow and a hawk, but I think about a goose and I just can't picture it. I don't know why. It's just really terrifying. She's got a little ways to go to learn how to transform into things that can fly. Let's put it that way.
I also feel like that might require a warlock pact.
Yes.
Ooh.
Probably.
Or a bit of barbarian for the rage incarnate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're ever player characters, I suppose. So by implication, I suppose you could be a different dinosaur-like bird. Like, ostriches, not flying. Still
Ooh.
burbs, still rage incarnate, still kind of dinosaurs a little bit. Cassowaries.
Very much. Yeah.
You ought be wary of them. It's in the name.
I mean, if there wasn't that huge avalanche, Pivum and Neb were going to go sliding down as penguins.
Yep.
But we got a little distracted.
Small avalanche losing a train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. You guys lost a train.
Careless.
I know.
I like to think the train was stolen by a runaway avalanche. Like, we knew where we left it. We knew where it was when we left. We put on the parking brake and everything. And then an avalanche decided, mine.
Speaking of dinosaurs,
Mm.
I don't remember the Lost World movies or things like that very well, but in the book, the trailers that they take to the island get pushed off a cliff and they have to go up and down them like climbing mountains. So that's sort of the inspiration for that under snow
I
train
thought of
car.
that, but I was
Yeah.
like, surely that's not.
No, I mean, look, Michael Crichton is one of my favorite writers of all time.
Mhm,
He is the
definitely.
inspiration. Sphere, if you didn't catch it, is the inspiration for a lot of that underwater stuff. I love adventure thrillers, science thrillers in that way. So, I mean, he's right up my alley. And so a lot of things are kind of inspired by that. So the vertical train under the snow is very much inspired by that train, their trailer that got knocked off.
And related to that, I know we're getting away from dinosaurs, but there's two things I gotta point out. First off, it's Hope's first time casting Fireball, if I remember, and it was epic and amazing.
Epic.
And we need
Yes.
another Fireball at some point. There has to be another one. And then I appreciated a lot when Fairuza and Neb were discussing becoming a spider, and not only Fairuza but Alicia being very kind about how that all worked. Like watching you go through Fairuza's anxiety of all of that, and then yeah, and then a lot of backstage chat being like, "Are you okay?"
Incidentally, I lost a bet for a charity game, and everyone had to play a critter. I lost a bet, so I had to play a spider.
Oh no.
So I played a spider that was just crying because she was caught in her own web all the time. So she's spent the entire time getting caught.
Oh.
So I've had my payback. So Neb's good.
Yeah.
How did you just attack my feelings instantly in one sentence with a spider? How dare you?
Well, I think to that point, I'll jump in and say something I appreciate about everyone on this cast, but I will use an example from Robin and the Fireball is, jumping on board with this idea that your characters don't know what they can do. And now that she can cast Fireball doesn't mean that she knows what Fireball does or what the consequences will be of that. And that requires a little bit of, knowing in your player brain that you are maybe going to do something that isn't optimal, but every single player sitting here is really spectacular at letting story sort of guide the ride, and I appreciate that so much. I think that moment with Fireball is a really great example of kind of going like, I'm gonna save everybody and do this thing with as much knowledge as Robin has, and then you learn it and can do better later, or craft it later as you learn. And so that was a big ask in this game, was to say, hey, walk us through your characters learning how to use their magic and what their magic is. And I just appreciate every single moment every single one of these players has leaned into that and really made a beautiful moment out of it. So thank you to you all. You're all very talented.
I think that's one of the special things about this game. So thank you. Like as a person who plays a lot of D&D, we don't often get to explore that side of like how, especially the characters that are the charisma casters that don't learn from a book or don't, get from their god. They just suddenly have magic. Like that kind of thinking about how do you actually learn how to use your powers is real cool.
Yeah.
And you use them all so creatively. It's not just the showing the learning in the process, it's how the players through the characters wield it. And we had a lovely question from Kilaki Redbeard that you are all such a creative group, which yes, true, based, but asks, how do you allow yourself or your characters to so often think outside the box?
Same question.
I think for me, this is something I struggle with a lot. I feel like in my brain, I'm always feeling like I'm watching other people who are thinking outside the box really easily and like doing that stuff without even trying. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what to do. But I think one of the things that I've discovered is that it's about questioning fundamental assumptions about what you know. It's looking at something in new ways and kind of trying to turn it around in your mind and say, if I had never seen this before, what would I think it did? It's if you gave a kid from the 1950s a cell phone, what would they do with it? Just kind of taking away, or if you gave kids now, a navigational, like a naval navigational tool, what would they to do with it? What would they think it was for? And trying to find new ways to play with things and explore spaces and challenge those assumptions that I normally would go in with as I looked at the situation.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it ends up being having a character in a situation that they're not suited for and having to come up with how you deal with that. We've all got characters that have strengths and weaknesses. And so leaning into, well, my character wants to do this thing, even though she's not really good at it. So, but she's smart enough to know she's not good at it. I got to come up with something else. She's got to come up with something else. So like allowing for, she's not good at this, but she's going to do it anyway because it makes sense. So now we got to do something, she can't jump this gap. So something else has got to happen. That's usually where, that's usually where I get to expand what some of those abilities and spells get to do.
And there's always a Fairuza to fastball special you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to cross a gap.
So
New and
cool.
creative solutions. Adding to the good memories as well.
I forgot. Like, do you mind if I throw you and your dog on shore? Go right ahead. Oh my god. Regarding like thinking outside the box, I generally like, I lost these. I just found them.
Yay! You were looking outside the box and you found them.
Really, like if I'm in a situation, especially during a game where like your character, like I feel like my characters are always cooler than I am as a person. So I was trying to imagine like if I'm in it, I'm like, it would be really cool if she took her glasses off and broke the lenses and they turned into little daggers and she threw them and they killed everyone. Like that's exactly how I think all the time. It'd be really cool. Like,
That's amazing.
So that's what I'm usually trying to think of like, what would be the coolest thing in this situation to happen? Even if sometimes it's not the most optimal. I'm like visually in my head as I'm listening to all these people here telling this really cool story. My imagination is just flying. So these people really are the ones that feed my insanity, sort of. I sort of springboard off them when they come up, like, ooh, and then it just goes from there. Yeah, it's imagination.
I think I just make a new box, honestly. Like I don't know if it's really outside the box. I do like playing, and I think this is just decades of GMing and having to do NPCs because people don't really like playing certain kinds of characters, but I know enough about story that I understand that there are certain types of characters that actually make the overall story better, even though, so I call them like the Templeton character from Charlotte's Web was very instrumental to me as a kid. So it's that concept of, the troublemaker a little bit, but also like, kind of in it for themselves a little bit, so there are so many examples of that out there. And so I think, I don't know if it's actually thinking outside the box as much as it is, making a box that is, kind of in that Templeton vein, and then just constantly thinking, because that's what I'm always thinking when I'm running games, is what is this non-player character's motivations and what would they actually do in this situation. And so I think about it that way. And that's the thing with Briv Steelmarrow that I played before, in obviously in different ways, but then Silas now, it certainly is it's thinking what Templeton would do in a lot of those situations.
What would Templeton do?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the thing that I'm going to do like in a home game or something, but it's like I do think that overall it puts pieces out there that the other characters can kind of riff off of, and they honestly make those things great. But it really is for me, it's just moving the box and like having a different kind of box, and then trying to honestly keep everything within whatever I think that box is for that character.
I think I'll piggyback off of the box thing that Adam was saying, is that for Robin, I created a box in which to be creative in. I made a list of jobs that Robin has done, and I made every single one of those jobs a picture in her album book, which then is her wizard spell book so she can prepare her spells based on these jobs and these memories and these experiences. So for me, the creativity comes from, I have this list, I have these spells, they don't go together, but I have to creatively think, how can I defend this choice with an experience for this spell. So for me, that's just the most fun part of the game.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
100%. Sorry, yeah, I'll pick my say. Problems engender creativity, right? So the conflict, the getting across the gap, as Lauren said, right? Like that's when you have to come up with an answer. And so I think what Hope is saying is really genius. And as a GM, you can help your players by giving them conundrums, right? Set
Yeah.
up situations where they have to
Yes.
figure it out, and
Yes.
as much as you can, remembering that they have see invisibility and talk to animals and trying to kind of, what can you do to make those givens a little less helpful, in that way, so that they have to fall back on some other out of the box thinking. So yeah, and then other things like, I enjoy my role for the players so that there's less metagaming, can kind of be pulled out of that if that's something that someone chooses. Adjusting monsters just enough that you might not be able to guess what they are, or never naming them, or, those kinds of things, kind of keeping players on their toes so that they can't anticipate, I think is also other ways that GMs can help players kind of expand.
I want to jump in just super fast there. The classic problem that people have with writing a character like Superman is, as Superman becomes, is so powerful. How does Superman get challenged?
Yeah.
And some of the comments that you made about, like, hey, yeah, we can fly and we can do the things that I appreciate the most, even as we get a little higher in level here and everything, is the situations end up, and especially with the other players here, this is always coming up, and it's just rich to sink your teeth into. Challenges like what you might throw at a Superman character. It's not about how hard can you punch something. It's not how much you can break through a door. It's none of those kind of things. It's like, what does that do to you? What are the moral qualms about it? And so I have loved over the course of the last couple of years here, as we're doing this, like seeing how those situations arise. And since everybody had such a great idea of who their character was when we started this journey, a lot of times in a normal D&D game, I say normal, whatever that means, but in many that I've played over the years, I would say that players don't always come in with a great idea of who that character is, and that's fine for a lot of games because you figure it out as you go and everybody's having fun and it's great. But in this situation where everybody really knew the characters that we were playing, I think it's fascinating that people have really stayed true to those characters. There's been this dynamic growth for the characters, and the situations that arise, like the biggest challenges that I've seen is how to get along with everybody in this really wild situation, and less about like, oh, this other than me, Adam, being scared of some of it. But it's like it's more than the physical challenges, and I think that part's been really.
Well, and branching off of that, what I was going to say about Hope's also is sort of what you're saying, Adam, too. I think part of it is the preparation. Is if you know the character you're playing, if you've built in sort of your own walls, if you've built yourself a foundation for your character, then you suddenly have the freedom to be creative in it. If you don't know those pieces of your character, then you'll flail around a bit. Like you'll be trying to grab hold of something to steer you, and when you can find those things, like the times that I felt lost with Maeve were times that I went, oh, I need to go back and figure out some pieces about Maeve. Like there's something that's missing in terms of her story that I've got to go look at what I'm missing here, because I'm feeling lost for some reason and I need to figure out what she wants, what she's going for, what she can do that I'm missing in my own abilities and go back to my sheet. And it sort of is, I talk about going back to the bar in ballet. Like you go back and do your basics again, you do your scales, you do your, just 101 stuff to figure out who you are and where you are. And then it comes back and you
Do
can
that in
find
martial
base
arts. I
again.
didn't know you did that in ballet. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every single class, whatever level you are, all the way up to professionals, you start your day off with doing bar.
I think off of all of that, with the how do you do creative things in those kind of moments, I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of other players who can also do creative things. And so if I can't come up with something, one of them is going to come up with something, and then piggybacking off of them, supporting their ideas, coming up with I sometimes have an easier idea of a way to support someone else in a creative way than I do to come up with a creative answer. Uh, and then outside of the game, there's been times in where I've been like, I'm trying to figure out how to do this with Neb. I'm trying to figure out how this is gonna look. And just we've all played these characters now long enough that I know I can go to any of you and ask and get at least an idea that is going to be on track for Neb. So if I'm ever lost in those cases and be, if she's gonna, if I want her to learn how to cast a spell and I just can't figure out how she would learn it, being able to go to the rest of you and go, so what are you thinking about?
That just reminds me. I have to shout out Lauren. As a player, that's one thing that I don't know if I had ever seen until I met you and started playing with you several years ago. At this point, like wow, time flies. But it really is that you pregame, between sessions. But in a way, it's not like, oh, hey, let's figure out like what we're gonna do here. Like some of that everybody does. It really is. It's questions like, hey, I just got this new ability, and I want your advice on like what you think would be an appropriate moment for the and that's just so cool when I first like saw you do something like that, because I was like that is such a this is collaborative storytelling. And a lot of times when you are playing these games, everybody still feels like each person is an island, like each character is an island that you're off doing your own thing. When if you're on a TV show or something, it's a writer's room, right? And like there is that collaboration that's happening for all the characters. And so that was just one of the coolest things that I had seen at that point in time. And you've done it, and I think you've inspired other people group to do it and everything too. So just really, really cool, and something that even if you have home games out there, I encourage you to try that kind of thing, because I love the idea that it's not all entirely on your shoulders to bring your character to life. Like you can get help from other people too.
Well, and the opposite of that is true of like, if I like learning, and I think all of us like learning if there is something that someone wants their character to be able to do. We know Silas is going to fly at some point. I remember us having that conversation of like, of you having feather fall and like, hey, we're eventually going to get into a situation where I'm just going to jump, and don't worry, it'll be okay. Like knowing some of those things in advance to help craft a story so that you can help some of the other characters do cool things, like, oh, I know Robin has fireball and wants to set it off here, so
you can step on toes pretty easily in this game, right? Where it's because that's the thing is like, hey, I've got this featherfall telekinetic net, this
sorry, did I give it away?
No, it's totally fine. Everybody knows that one's but with that though, it really is. It's like, sharing that, hey, I have this ability. One of you might have had an ability that you needed to take a whole bunch of damage or something. And so just like understanding what everybody has and what you do. And like, hey, if I jump off a cliff, don't do anything about it. Because all of us are like with our reaction, no, we're silvery barbsing. We're doing this, we're doing that, when we could steal some of those moments from so again, just like most things in life, communication is a really, really good thing.
Well, and I think too, from the beginning, we all sort of thought as we were building our characters, not only mechanically, what can we how can we synthesize our characters? How can we find things that we can learn from each other mechanically in terms of spells or in terms of abilities, or by observing, but narratively, what are the things that as I'm creating this character might my character need to learn in their life, in their personality, and who can I learn that from, who's here, and what are they doing, and or what if I know that there's someone like Robin who's going to be in the story. Robin has so much life experience, so characters like Neb and Fairuza and Maeve, who are young and sort of haven't had a lot of experience in the world, each of us are going to have things that we aren't great at because we just don't have the life experience, and Robin is going to have all of this knowledge and all of this experience that we can draw on. So those are things that, as we're creating our characters, we can build out those flaws and that inexperience, because it allows you to have this opportunity to build those moments for the long rests, or for the conversations, or just to just follow that arc even more, which I love. And I don't think I've ever had a game where really that was part of the character building process before. And I love that about these characters, because they feel so interwoven in a way that I don't think I've had a group feel.
Yeah.
Not just connected, but actually like it's a tapestry.
Well, and I don't know. I don't actually watch a lot of live D&D, so I can't always make comparisons. So maybe this isn't a new thing. You can tell me, but I tend to write pretty action-driven D&D. Kind of keep it going. There's always going to be something to explore, something to investigate, something to fight. There's there will be a wisp to follow, but what but I also know players love, and people love to watch those moments that are just the characters interacting. And something, a rhythm that we got into that I think is so great, is that every few episodes we do these watches, and every time you all pick different pair ups, and it just allows for you all to settle in, go back over what has been happening, any questions that have arisen, kind of reset your mind. And it's great because it gives me a thing like, oh, they need clarification here, or they're way ahead of me on this one. Fantastic. Let's let that pay off sooner. So I can kind of pregame myself a little bit because I get clued into where your heads are at. But these relationships, like, Jen is saying, start to get more interwoven. We see specifically like a dynamic between Silas and Fairuza is really different than Fairuza and Robin, and so we see how who you are with different people, and what each of you bring out in each other. And it's just it's such a fascinating rhythm, and it's something I learned doing this game because I'm so action oriented. I think I don't always leave space for that. And you all kind of took it. And when it first happened, I was like, oh, I guess we're just going to spend this episode talking. Okay. And I had to kind of get on board with that. But now I've really learned that it's a very important part of the game. And so, yeah,
Well, I will say that, like, I do genuinely think that it depends on the group, because, like, for so many years, I have Indy Jones to the, map to this place, and like, like the montage of like moving into the next, meaty scene. And I will say that, like, I have never liked the concept of watches. And again, when I run games, a lot of yeah, exactly. And when I run those games, I'm like, yeah, okay, like, yeah, and you all have a wonderful night, and all that. So so this is really something that many of these players have introduced to me, and I do, like, I have never played in a session for 2 hours that was pretty much an entire just long rest, like, because we've probably had multiple episodes of that, at least where half the episode is a long rest. And they are some of my favorites now. And so again, I think that it's a testament to just great players here. Everybody's just so wonderful, but also it has opened my eyes to some home games and everything else, of at least getting a feel. Whereas before I was like, no, that's a waste of time. We're just going to move to the good stuff. And getting a feel, because some groups, they do want to just move ahead, but then it's like, I've actually opened the door a little bit, and then some of those other games that I'm playing, people are like, "Oh, wait a minute, play like during this part, like this used to be, you know, a load screen or whatever." So, you know, it is fascinating to see.
And I think some of that came out of us, you know, having played together for a while and having had some of our favorite moments happen in those quieter times. That just we've sort of found that, and that it's. I kind of love that that's been this progression, as in all of us. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's been flexible, right? Because we've had those moments of, all right, it's time for a long rest. There isn't really anything in specific anyone wants to talk about, or we're real interested in just getting to the next thing. And so we have had a couple of times where we're like, and you rest. So like having that flexibility, you know, or even some of the rests in where, you know, just 2 or 3 of the characters want to be able to have a chat or get something out, and the others are okay. Like I feel like we have an out of that last watch that is one person. You know, if anyone's like, I just need a long rest, I'm not ready to have a conversation, I'll just take the last one here. I'll just take the lonely watch. So like there's a lot of flexibility in who wants to do it and when. And the other thing that at least I've learned about especially those kinds of scenes is James Hicks said a while ago that the best thing about being a DM or a player is being the fan, being the biggest fan of the other people, your other characters, and like just reveling in watching like these stories happen. So even when I'm not doing, when Neb isn't doing anything for 20-30 minutes because there's this scene happening, I'm just riveted because I'm like, it's my stories. I get my stories now. Here we go.
The amount of characters I've, you know, borderline hated that of players that I've played with over the years, of like, I just completely tolerate them and all this kind of stuff, like is too many to talk about. And so like, it really is just so special that when you all create characters, and again, it goes to this preparation that you know, I genuinely like all of the characters. I'm like, you know, I would read a comic series, you know, with these characters and enjoy that. And they're just, you know, I definitely have not been able to say that for every group I've been in over the years, but everybody just really brings their A game to getting, you know, those characters made, and again, those motivations and personalities and everything. It really is just top notch.
Well, we're getting the movie made with bunches of money, right? And
bunches of money.
Bunches of money.
Another way Silas is not living.
Oh my god! I sometimes, so I mean, I have to call out, even though we were missing Maeve, and we did really miss her. But the game we got to play in person in San Diego was really special too, because you know we hadn't really been able to be around each other before, so it was really nice to be able to do that. I feel like that game, for some reason, made me feel like our characters regard each other almost, you know how siblings regard each other?
Mm-hmm.
Like you love each other, but it's like, I also want to kill you sometimes, but I love you, and I will give my life for you, but what are you doing? You know what I mean? That's what I do.
Well, you had Gabe Gloria as your mother figure for that adventure, so that really, I think, brought out the sibling feel.
I will turn this car right around.
I will turn this car around.
Totally.
Watching Gabe Hicks, the person who is usually the most chaotic
The
in
most
every game.
chaotic.
The most chaos.
Well, Gabe said he didn't even know what to do. He was like, I got into the middle of this, and I'm usually the voice of chaos. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, that is already well spoken for.
We have the chaos covered.
Oh yes,
great.
Oh yes.
Oh, but also
That's
he
what
chose
the C in the COE stands for, right? Chaos of
chaos. He chose the mother, the train conductor, the organizer of the, you know, the tour. Like he chose the most organized, by the book person in the like NPC world that he could choose. So I was like, hey, I mean, you picked Mama Bear, go for it.
We were all wondering, how is he going to play that? I wonder how he's going to play that.
So
And
great.
it was like perfect.
Perfection.
It was hysterical. Yeah. So well done. So yeah, that's where I remember after I was like, you know what? They're siblings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, for all that all of you talk about being the biggest fans of each other at the table. I'm so sorry the position is already filled. It is filled by me, your gentle host, Sam DeLev. But I will have to wait for the continuation until next year, because not only will that do it for us for this episode of On the Éarte, but this is what rings out the year for Children of Éarte as a whole. But don't forget to tune back in, y'all, at Demiplane RPG next year for its most glorious return in the second week of January 9th. So thank you again so much, everyone. Happy holidays to all of you, both here on the show and all of you at home. And we will see you next year for many more adventures, watches, and hopefully a couple fewer death saves.
No,
More.
more
Oh my God.
I mean,
this
let
is-
me hop up. I'm just gonna say, so
Rest.
this is my adventure book where I keep all of the secrets and notes and everything in it. It's filled. So next year will be the start of a new Leuchtturm for Children of Éarte. And as you know, we shall be potentially heading to other climes. So yes, I'm very excited. Come back and join us next year.
Come back and join us next year, but until next year, y'all, we're going off the Éarte.
Um,